Wait a minute. 19 years in the major leagues? Wow. 284 wins? 3,192 strikeouts? 267 complete games? 7 seasons with 20 or more wins? Canadian Baseball Hall of Famer? And Major League Baseball Hall of Famer? Who are you, buddy?
Ferguson Jenkins.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Aren't you the guy that has a statue at Wrigley Field?
Yes, I'm the guy.
Oh my God, what an honor. Here we have it, baby. Ferguson Jenkins, known as Fergie Jenkins. Welcome to the show. Fergie, first of all, I am honored to have you. Wow. Talk to me.
Appreciate that. Glad to be on your show. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. You know, Ferg, there was rumors that you were actually a better hockey player than a baseball player when you were growing up.
I think at the age of 16, 17, I was probably a better hockey player. Yes, definitely.
Well, you did grow up in Canada, right? I mean, it's obvious. 95% of the time, guys are playing hockey, right?
Yeah, my dad got me skates when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and played all the way through to junior hockey and midget all star. Hockey was kind of a sport in my backyard that everybody played, and my team was the Montreal Canadiens.
Wow. And when's the last time they won the cup?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Right.
I think they won like 15 or 16 in a row, but they've kind of fell on hard times for a while, so it just hadn't happened.
So, Fergie, I see this. This is an older picture of you. If you can see, right? You're with a hockey stick. So, my question is that looks like a lefty, a left handed position holding the stick.
Right. That was
So,
a shooter, left-handed shooter.
oh, so you were a left handed shooter
Yes.
and you pitch righty.
Right. Yeah.
How's that
Most
possible?
most hockey players shoot left-handed. It's surprising. I'm not sure why that is, but
Oh, okay. All right.
I could never shoot right-handed. Always left-handed.
So, but then when you were in high school, you just started pitching at 17 years old?
At the age of 16,
At the age of
Gene
16?
DeJura was the area scout that ended up coming to my hometown. He was a history teacher, but he was in the Philly organization, and kind of got me to the point, telling me that I would probably be a better pitcher than I would be a first baseman.
Hmm. Did you hit
Good looking
bombs when you?
cigar right there.
Oh yeah, so Fergie, usually during my show, I always smoke cigars, and I want to know whose cigar is this, please? Can you identify this? Here, let me light this
I
up real
believe
quick.
that could be one of mine.
Hmm.
Yes,
What are yours? Look, you see that? Yeah, let me put it right in the
right.
camera. Let me zoom in.
Good cigar.
Oh, look at that, Jenkins. Look at that.
Yes, out of Dominican Republic. Yes,
You look, and I got his cigar box, right? Look at that home plate. You see the signature, right? Look at that.
yeah,
Well, how do you feel
pretty
about
nice.
that, Fergie? How did that come around? Like, what happened?
Well, I think that through word of mouth, the shortstop with the Mets was one of the first individuals to have an opportunity to have a cigar named after him. And then the company got a hold of me, and we talked for about a month or so. It's a relatively new company, probably been in existence probably 8 to 10 months. I think John Daly has a cigar named after him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Lindor with the Mets. Now me, now Larry Walker.
Well, actually, I think it's Jose Reyes that has the
Is it
cigar.
Reyes?
Yeah,
All
Jose
right.
Reyes. Yeah,
Jose Reyes.
yeah.
Right.
And how did you meet these characters? Because I really love them. I mean, they're funny. I love these guys. Look at these guys, typical New Yorkers, right? You like Jay and Joe?
Yes. Yeah, Jay and Joe. We met in Chicago, and then we went to one of the main shows in Vegas. We stayed there for 3 days, meeting lots of people connected with the cigar companies, and believe me, it's really opened my eyes to what cigars are, how they're made, and where they come from. The best ones are now out of Dominican, not out of Cuba, but out of Dominican.
Yeah, it's amazing because I'm smoking your cigar right now, and I went to Jay's.
Nice and mild, right?
That's what I love about it. It kind of reminds me of a little Cuban cigar because a natural Cuban cigar it is mild.
Right.
So this is mild, and I'm really enjoying this because I went to see Jay, and he texted me and he said, "Listen, Fergie agreed to be interviewed by you this Monday, which is today, but this was this past Thursday." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Oh my god, I need his cigars." He's like, "Well, come over to Long Island because I live in Queens." I was like, "All right," and I got it, and I was like, and I tried it, and I was like, "Wow, this is great."
Yeah, I smoke cigars only when I play golf. Now,
That's
if there's
it.
a special occasion, I might smoke, but I always take two or three with me when I go out and play golf. And I offer whoever I'm playing with, would you like to indulge in a cigar with me? And he'll look at it and goes, damn, this has got your label on it. I said, yeah, it's a cigar made for me.
Exactly. You know, Ferg, am I allowed to call you Ferg or Fergie sometimes?
Oh, yeah, Fergie. Most people
Okay.
call me Fergie. Yeah.
Um, you know, I did a lot of research, and you have a very beautiful heart, man. And what you went through in the past, oh my God. How did you the adversity, man, how did you become so mentally strong? I mean, it hurts me what happened in the past.
Well, I think that, sure. Everybody's got to face certain trials and tribulations, as they call it. Uh, I was raised a Baptist. My dad was Catholic. My mom raised me a Baptist. Went to our local Baptist church in Chatham, Ontario. I taught Sunday school to kids, sang in the choir, took my mom to church in the evenings. I just think that I have a strong religious background because of my mom and my kids. Because of the fact that a lot of these different situations happened to me during the fact that uh, I had to rely on strength, and my kids are pretty strong. I have three daughters that really take care of their dad. Believe me, that's my picture of my mom opening day in 1967, and these are my daughters, Dolores, Kelly, and Kimberly.
But you also, well, this really hurts me a lot to say, Fergie, but you lost a little girl, right, in the past. And she actually was born on my
I lost my
birthday.
mom early. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I lost my mom in 1970 from cancer. And then I lost Mary Ann in a car accident. And then Lydia died of a suicide, which this is a picture of Mary Ann.
Hmm.
She was in a car accident, which is really incredible. Not far from the farm where I had in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and this is the
Beautiful
girl.
lady.
This is the girl you were taking care of, right?
That's Samantha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that, man? I mean, that's tough, Fergie. People go through depression. People start drinking. They do drugs. I mean, to lose a loved one like this, and the wives in the past, it's crazy.
In the Bible, it says that God won't put as much pressure than you should be able to handle. And when I look back, there's been some definite trials, definite situations that I think that I've met them. My kids have been extremely strong for their dad, and whenever I need a shoulder to cry on, I'll phone one of my daughters for sure.
And Your mom too. Did she become blind when she gave birth to you? Right after birth?
Well, she suffered glaucoma at a young age, and at the time of my birth, being in labor for such a length of time, it took a portion of her sight. She never had an opportunity to see me perform as an athlete from high school as a profession, but she always listened to the games on a transistor radio.
Yeah,
She
that's
carried with her either in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, or Chicago, wherever I was pitching. My dad would get a bunch of guys together and they'd travel to these different cities where I was pitching.
your dad. He was a phenomenal baseball player, but he didn't really get a chance to be in the big leagues, right?
My dad played semi-pro ball in my hometown, Chatham, for the Chatham Colored All Stars.
Hmm.
In 1935, they won a couple of championships. My dad was a left-handed hitter, a left-handed thrower.
Just like me.
I'm totally right-handed. Yeah, exact opposite. And he was a center fielder, had pretty good foot speed.
So he had good wheels then.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So when you played hockey, right? I mean, in high school or when the teenager years, um, as far as who told you, hey, you should play baseball.
Well, I was scouted by the Philly organization, and Gene DeJura, as I said, was a history teacher at the collegiate high school. He got me understanding that probably my best opportunity, if I wanted to become a professional athlete, was to be able to pitch. And we every Tuesday and Thursday would throw in local gymnasium, and pretty soon I adapted pretty good to throwing the ball and throwing strikes. I had pretty good control at the age of 15, 16 years old. And I think that really helped me as a professional when I signed a pro contract.
How tall were you at 15 years old?
Probably 6'4", 6'5",
Oh my
long,
God.
tall, skinny kid.
I mean that's an automatic shot,
Yeah,
right? That like you're getting a contract in sports if you're athletic, right?
right. I think that the health situation of staying healthy and the height definitely helped me as an athlete for sure.
When you got called up for the Phillies, how did it work back then? Did you spend any time in the minor leagues? I think you went to Miami first, right?
I was in the minor leagues 2.5 seasons. Miami, Class A ball, Double A in Chattanooga, and part of a season Triple A in Little Rock before the Phillies brought me up in '65.
And Fergie, there was a lot of racism going down there, right? I mean, you guys couldn't even eat in some restaurants; they wouldn't allow it.
Well, segregation is still going on. The Bill of Rights didn't get passed until '64, so I signed in '62, and you know, my roommate was Alex Johnson from Detroit, Michigan. We had four players of color on that team. Richard Quito from Panama, Reno Garcia from Cuba, Alex Johnson from Michigan, and myself from Canada. And we got along pretty good. I just think that understanding what segregation was all about, it was a shock in some cases. Couldn't eat in certain restaurants, couldn't go to Miami Beach. Oh, there were certain places you couldn't go. In a retrospect, that didn't bother me because I was there to play baseball and show my talent in the Philly organization.
Exactly. So hold on, I'm trying to recount this. I'm trying to be in your shoes. You're telling me every time you would go to a restaurant, there was, excuse me, you can't eat here just like that? Like, excuse me, you cannot eat here?
Well, in Clearwater, Florida, I got turned away a couple of times. We could eat in the team hotel or a trailway bus station, but and certain restaurants. Well, I lived in Little Cuba, which was off Biscayne Boulevard, and Reno Garcia, as I said, was from Cuba, and
Mhm.
Richard Quito from Panama. So they were Latin, and didn't have any problem talking the language to a lot of the different restaurant owners. So I didn't want to, for not eating certain places, and I think that really helped me because they were great teammates.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, I would say like you say, listen, I'm in the minor leagues with the Phillies. Can I eat here? I think if I was the owner, I'd be like, yeah, come on in. I mean, what's the big deal, right? Don't worry about your color and your skin.
Well, I think in some respect it helped in the minor leagues in the Florida State League. There was St. Petersburg, there was Tampa, Fort Lauderdale. Some of these had black restaurants we could go to, but as a ball player, you might not. It might be a 2 or 3 day road trip. You might get a chance to eat there maybe once, but we understand this is a place we could go to get served. But certain places you just couldn't walk in and think that you could sit down and get served a meal. It just didn't happen.
So, Fergie, when you got the call, where were you at the time when you got the call and said, hey, you're going to the big leagues, you're going to Philly?
I was playing in Little Rock at the time, the AAA team. Franklin Casey was our manager. There was 7 of us brought up to that team, Phillies. Grant Jackson, Billy Sorrell, oh, come on, Rick Wise, myself, Alex. There was quite a few of us had to report to the Phillies uh, when they were at home in 1965. I think we're playing against, I think, Cincinnati at the time.
And did you, when you got called up, did you actually start that game?
No, I pitched in relief, I think
Mm.
3 or 4 days later against the Cardinals and Bob Gibson. Jim Bunning and Bob Gibson started the game. I came in the fourth and pitched like 3.5, 4 innings of relief. We won in the 10th or 11th inning.
So you're telling me you actually beat Bob Gibson?
Beat Bob Gibson out of the bullpen in relief. Yeah,
Oh my
first
God.
win, first major league win.
Fergie, was he tough? Did he throw hard? Did batters fear him? Like, oh my God, this guy just brings it, right?
The reputation that he had, he had it in '65 when I was brought up to the big leagues. He threw pretty hard. You know, he after that in the '68 World Series, he probably pitched really well. Struck out 17 Detroit Tigers. So he was a tough individual. I mean, he won a lot of ball games in the big leagues, and the notoriety and his reputation, believe me, it was there.
Who took you under his wing when you got called up? Who said, Fergie, you're hanging out with me?
Well, Dick Allen had we had roommate we roomed together in AAA in Little Rock. So when he came up in '64, was Rookie of the Year. So we hung out together. Uh, Later on, in I think in '66, my roommate was Alex Johnson. So we roomed together. Then I got traded to Chicago, and I had Ernie Banks as a roommate there in Chicago. So I had a good veteran individual that taught me the way of the world, as you call it, in one of the greatest cities, Chicago.
I'll tell you one thing. You are spoiled. The fact that Ernie Banks was your roommate. I mean, come on, Fergie. You can't get better than that.
No, you're right. I mean, he was a individual that never talked about himself. Always wanted talked about how he can improve the team. And guy hit 500 plus home runs in the big leagues. Believe me, and an MVP player. A couple of
Back
years at shortstop.
back to
When I
back
got to the big
MVP.
leagues, right, and he was playing first base at the time, and had a sweet glove, could catch the ball. I mean, had a great swing. Him and Billy Williams and Ron Santo were the veterans on that ball club when I joined the team.
Did the Ernie Banks, he always had a smile, right? He was happy to be at the ballpark, right? He never complained. He was like, I'm happy I'm here, right? Every day.
He had a great attitude. He loved putting that uniform on and playing first base at Wrigley Field, running from the third base dugout across to first base. He loved playing. in Wrigley Field. Believe me.
What was your favorite mound to pitch? Which stadium you were like? Besides, well, I don't know. I
Well,
mean, did you enjoy that Wrigley? Did you like the mound at Wrigley?
yeah, I won a lot of games as a Chicago Cub in Wrigley Field. I enjoyed pitching in San Francisco, Candlestick Park, uh, old Crosley Field in Cincinnati was a good ballpark for me.
Mhm.
When I look back at some of the stadiums, you basically have to tell yourself that you're there as a visitor, the opposing team, and you got to try to win. So some of these mounds, you know, the Astrodome had a real high mound. Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine had a high mound because they make the mound for their starting staff. So you have to get used to pitching in that particular ballpark. But I enjoyed pitching. Those 19 years, believe me, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, I watch your videos on YouTube, and I'm like, this guy really enjoyed the game. He loved pitching. Even when you gave up home runs, you're like, oh man, what the hell, man? It was funny your reaction. Like you didn't,
Well,
you know.
you have to give that hitter a lot of credit. The guy that hit against you, Clemente, Mays, McCovey, Perez, Bench. Those guys were home run hitters. That's what they got paid to do.
But Fergie, when it comes to the scouting report, right, and when you have to face Roberto Clemente, what do you say to yourself? I'm going to stay off speed. I'm not going to give him a fastball. If I do, I'm going to throw at his head, kind of high and in to brush him off.
Well, we had scouts that would be on the road a lot of times, maybe a series before we go into Pittsburgh or before they come to Chicago. So knowing certain guys that what they like to hit, what they don't like to hit, it's kind of a cat and mouse type situation. But Randy Hundley caught most of my games, so we worked a lot together. I think that really helped me having a catcher that knew the hitters as well as I did. And just sitting on the bench, seeing how these guys perform, that was a definite plus for me.
So really paying attention to detail is very important because the hitter could be, let's say the hitter's cold the past 3 games, you're like, ooh, I got him. But let's say the hitter's hot the past 3 games, right? You get the report about that?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the hitting reports came in, or you have to face a new rookie that's joined the ball club, especially late in September. Rookies are all called up from every organization, so he's had a pretty good minor league situation, and that's why he's in the big leagues now. So you got to learn how to pitch these young guys. Uh, Basically, you have to learn how to get them out. Although they do get themselves out from time to time, but getting hitters out, how to set them up, and that definitely helps you in that situation.
Fergie, did you ever sense the batter's not really confident? Like I could see his body language. He's a little weak. He's like maybe fear of failure. Did you ever notice that in a hitter?
Well, the biggest thing is you learn from past experience what you can throw to certain hitters. I think they come to the plate knowing I'm going to be tough against them, so they got to do the same thing. They got to go out there and try to get a base hit or work the count full and maybe get a walk. But the nice thing about it, when I look back at some of the tough hitters like Pete Rose, the guy that well over 4,000 hits, the American League, Rod Carew, won all these batting titles, Tony Oliva, Carl Yastrzemski. I got a chance to face some of the best hitters in baseball. They didn't go up there fearful of what I was trying to do. They went up there with confidence, believe me.
No, but not the good hitters. I'm talking about the okay hitters. You know what I mean? Like he's a number seventh hitter, eighth hitter, and I'm gonna get him. He's easy.
Well, some of the I can give you. I'm trying to think of some seventh hitters. Not a lot of these guys. They got the big leagues for a certain. Tito Fuentes hit seventh with San
Hmm.
Francisco. Guy put the ball in play. Uh, Tommy Helms, he hit sixth or seventh with Cincinnati. These guys were good hitters. They went to the plate knowing what my strength was. So they got to go out there and try to combat that part of the game. But I don't think any hitter there wasn't many weak hitters in the National League. Believe me.
Oh, so the National League was much tougher than the American League?
Well, I think then by far they had better hitters in the National League than the American League.
Mm, wow. Okay. And what about you as a hitter? Did you? I know bunting was huge back then, right? But like, did you? The coach ever let you, the manager, say, you know what, go ahead, swing it?
Well, with men on base as a pitcher in the National League was our job to move the runner around. You could bunt him from either first to second or second to third. And if I got the opportunity to swing away, I could. I swung the bat pretty good. I had 13 home runs in the big leagues.
Wow, look at you! Oh my God, for
Yeah,
a
I had six.
pitcher.
I had six in my Cy Young year. I had six one year. You know,
Wow.
two
Oh
Hall of
man.
Famers that I hit home runs against: Don Sutton and Tom Seaver.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I
Two
mean,
Hall of Famers.
I read that. I
If they
was like,
make a
wow.
mistake, you try to take advantage of it.
Now, can you recall the pitches? Were they like up in the zone? Was it a fastball, dead red? Did they challenge you with a
Well,
fastball?
my first home run against Don Sutton was a fastball. Yeah, Seaver hung a slider in Shea Stadium. I hit it to right center field. Uh, the hardest home run I ever hit was a young man named Billy Champion with the Phillies. He threw a high fastball up, and I wasn't even out of the batter's box, and it was out of the was out of the ballpark.
Did you hot
I hit
dog
it
the
that
home run
hard.
like Barry Bonds does? Did you hot dog the home run, or you you
Ah,
ran?
no,
Oh, he froze.
and get back to home plate, shake hands with the on deck circle.
Oh,
Got
okay.
us in the on deck circle. Yeah.
You know
No,
what's
I didn't hot dog. I didn't hot dog home runs.
but you know what's crazy? I mean, Fergie, 267 complete games. That is unheard of in the big leagues right now. Let alone if a guy right now pitches 3 complete games, he's great.
I enjoyed that part of it, being in pretty good shape and pitching against certain ball clubs. You know, Drysdale and I had a lot of battles against each other. Gibson, Seaver, Gaylord Perry, Juan Marichal. Throwing a complete ball game against another great competitor was something that I enjoyed doing. And I look back at my Cy Young year, I had 30 complete ball games that one year, 71. And the year I was traded to the American League in 74, I had 29 complete games. So your job is to go out there and try to win, try to hold your opponent to a few runs as possible and win a ball game. So in a complete ball game, a lot of times I might have the upper hand. So I had to stay with my strength and try to win a ball game.
And the crazy thing is, you lost 13 games, 1-0. And it could be extra innings too. Like you guys, it's unbelievable how you guys go the distance.
Yeah, yeah, those 13 games would have helped my pitching total for sure,
you could
win
have
total.
you could have get
Yeah,
close to 300 wins right there.
yeah. I think there's another stat. I lost 79 one-run games.
Oh my
79
god.
one-run games in my 19-year career with either with Texas, Boston, or Chicago.
That is unreal because I look at a guy like Garrett Cole, right, with the Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan, as you can see, Fergie. We're from New York, me and my crew, and I said to myself, 3 to 4 complete games. Then I look at your stats. I'm like, what? That's crazy. And there was one time. No, how many times did you pitch 300 innings pitched?
5 or 6 times. Yeah.
So
One
then,
year at the All Star break, I had 190 innings, and these guys, well, they complete a whole year with 190 innings pitched. But I
and
had 190 at the All Star game.
and then in 1971, you win your National League Cy Young award with 24 wins, and then you said, "Listen, I'm only making $47,000, buddy. You got to cough it up now, right?" I mean, I'm sure you were demanding that, right?
Well, I ended up hiring 2 attorneys. And Mr. Wrigley didn't like to talk to an agent or an attorney, and we negotiated in the spring. I held out like 15 days, and then I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Wrigley. I got a big salary raise, believe me. Worked out really well.
Well, you know what? Let me turn back the clock a little bit. What was your signing bonus back then when you got drafted?
$6,000.
That's it?
1962 signing bonus, $6,000.
What did you do with that 6,000? I mean, did you buy a car? I mean, what'd you do?
No, I gave it. I gave the money to my father, and he paid off the mortgage of one of the houses that we lived in. I didn't buy a car until the following season after winter ball.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, you're a family man,
Made a little extra money in winter ball.
Right, exactly. All right. So then when you signed for 250,000 the following year, you know what's crazy? They say you were struggling with only 14 wins. Right now, if you have 14 wins, you are considered a great pitcher in the big leagues. How crazy is that?
Well, back then, 20 game winners. If you could continue doing it, 14 wins was on the low side. I remember one year there was 7 game winners: Marichal, Gibson, Drysdale, Perry, Negro, Seaver, and myself.
Mhm.
And believe me, that was tough in the National League to win 20 games because the ball clubs had good hitting, good defense, and that proved that you were able to hold your own winning 20 games.
When you played for the Cubs, can you go out? I mean, people loved you. Wherever you went, I'm sure people recognized you, right? Was dinner on the house? Was wherever you went on the house? Come on, Fergie, admit that, was it?
The odd time you'd get your tab taken care of. Somebody would send over a few cocktails to you. Uh, and I really enjoy that part of it. And I look back at it, the admiration that maybe a true fan eating in that restaurant gave you. I tried to compensate by maybe sending a drink over to his table. But a lot of times, the owner of the restaurant would comp the meal that particular night to the wife and myself.
But here's the thing: everybody recognizes you because you're the pitcher for the Cubs. I mean, All Star, Cy Young, and another thing is your height, 6'5". You walk in, and people are like, he has to be somebody, right?
Yeah, you get recognized quite a bit. A lot of times, I wouldn't tell people, "Oh, I'm not Fergie Jenkins." They'd come out, they say, "I know you," like that, and I went, "Sure you do." Well, I pitched every fourth day on WGN in Chicago, especially in Chicago. That's, that's like I said, that's one of the best cities to play sports anywhere. Chicago is a great sports city.
I would agree, but I think number one is New York. What do you think, Fergie?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh
Right?
yeah, yeah. I would have loved that. I almost got traded to the Yankees one year.
What?
Just
What
didn't work.
happened?
Just didn't work.
Oh
I'm
man.
not sure. They were negotiating. John Holland was our general manager, and I think it was could have been '68. They were looking to strengthen their ball club pitching wise, and my name was brought up in a trade, but it didn't come off. I might have been a Yankee, '68, '69, maybe '70. Who knows?
Oh boy, that would have been awesome. Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing: when you struggled in 1973, 14 games. I mean, yeah, I get it. Guys, you're in the 20 mark. People were keying your car. People were like going against you.
Well, I didn't pitch that well, so we had an open parking lot. So when we parked our vehicles, there was only a parking attendant, and we walked across the street to the ballpark and to Wrigley and to the dressing room. So who's to say an angry fan didn't like the way I pitched that particular day? Maybe I lost 2-1, 1-0. So he was angry at the fact that I only won 14 games that season. We didn't have a real strong ball club. We had traded Kessinger, Santo, Williams, Holtzman, Bill Hands. We traded the nucleus of our ball club to different teams, and uh, we're still a team that could win. But I didn't win as many games as I did the year before, and unfortunately, sometimes angry fans trying to take it out. Didn't take it out on me. They took it out of my car.
Right. But still, man, I mean, come on now. You're human, you know. There's times you're going to lose, right? You can't be keying the guy's car.
Yeah,
Let me ask you
but
this.
it happens.
In
Fans
night,
are fans are angry from time to time. Now I see the black cat incident.
right.
That was a that was a situation where Tom Seaver and I hooked up,
Hmm.
and I pitched for 2 days rest. And as you look at the picture, it did look like a full grown cat, but somebody see they released it behind home plate is where the ground crew would go after they manicured the field. Somebody had put it out instead of walking towards the Met dugout, it walked towards our. And Billy Williams is a hitter, and Ron Santa was in the on deck circle. It walked right behind Ronnie in front of our bench, and that was they said the, the, the end all to our lead. We had a 2.5 game lead after we left New York. We had we had only a half game lead.
So that cat,
That was 69.
69. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
ask you this, Fergie. On paper, were you guys better than the Mets, or the Mets were better than you guys?
Well, we were in first place like 5.5 months, and that month of September was kind of our downfall. We lost something like 15 out of 20 games, and the Mets took over leading that division and ended up winning. But I thought, man for man, we had a pretty strong ball club, and the pitching staff we had Holtzman, Hands, Nye, myself against Seaver, Kuzman, Matlack, and Gentry and McAndrews. So they had, and Tug McGraw was their uh, their bullpen saver. So we always thought that Tug McGraw was being a practical joker. He could have throw that black cat out on the field and walked in front of our dugout.
So Fergie, while the cat's hanging out with Ron right there, what happened? The grounds crew came out and tried to. Did they chase the cat, or
Oh
the
no,
cat
the
ran
cat
away on its own?
it came out. Uh, they scraped the infield in the seventh inning, and the cat was thrown out then, and it walked in front of our dugout and just disappeared into the stands. So who knows who threw out that cat in that situation? I always thought that was probably practical joker was Tug McGraw. He could have done it.
Hmm. Well, maybe it was the New York mob or something like that. Who knows, right?
Oh yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Did you your favorite city? Which city did you love? Like the restaurant or something? You'd be like, oh, when I come here, I'm definitely going to this place. Do you remember any of the?
New York had great restaurants
Mhm.
out on the West Coast, San Francisco, L.A., and then right there in Chicago had some great restaurants. You know, when I look back, I used to hang out with Billy and Ernie or George Altman. We'd eat out together quite a few times together. So they knew the good restaurants to go to, and I would just follow in with them a lot of times.
Fergie, when I saw some documentaries in the clubhouse, that is some. That is a tiny clubhouse. You guys are in the home, right? You guys are all tangled up, like in the showers and everything. Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, that Wrigley Field, our dressing room was down the left field line, real narrow, small dressing room that the Chicago Bears dressed in there because they played at Wrigley Field, the Bears, for years and years. So it was a very small, tiny dressing room. We had 6 shower nozzles, but only 3 worked, and we had to shower one at a time a lot of times. It was quite a small dressing room, believe me.
So pretty much when the game was over, guys would be like, "Listen, my wife and I have plans. I got to get out of here. I'm going to shower first." Did you guys have a lineup or something like that?
Yeah, a lot of times that would happen. Guys
Hmm.
would get in that shower quick as they could, and then the guys that had nothing to do, they would shower late. But as I said, only three nozzles worked out of those 6. So it was a really a bad clubhouse. It didn't get better until the '80s. Believe me,
So
when I came back to the team. 82, 83, we had a better dressing room, which was underneath the stands, right opposite as you walked out to go to the home dugout.
Did you have at least hot water there?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. We had hot water.
All right.
We
I'm
didn't have
just.
to suffer with cold. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, a
We
nice
had all
summer.
the convenience of hot water.
And like at Wrigley, you guys just played day games. Like the owner felt like I don't want no billboards. I just want a day game, just a fresh ballpark, right? That's what he believed in.
Yeah, Mr. Wrigley was kind of a throwback to games in the 50s. And we didn't have lights until 88. But my whole career, 10 years there as a player, all day games. I'd have to be up 8 o'clock. Billy Williams would either pick me up at sometimes 8:30, or Ernie or George Altman, and we traveled to the ballpark. We had to be dressing on the field at 9:15 every day, our home games. We played a doubleheader Sunday, day off Monday. A lot of games on the Sunday doubleheaders would start at noon.
Right.
But it was quite, when you look back, I'm in a uniform every day, and it was a lot of fun to go out there and put that uniform on and perform and try to be a winning pitcher. Believe me, a lot of fun.
And then after the Chicago Cubs, you played there with 10 years altogether.
10 years with the Cubs. I played 6 years with the Rangers and a couple years in Boston,
So
Fenway
how did
Park.
now? Here's the thing. This is interesting. You got traded. Did you get traded or no? There was no free
I
agency
got
back
traded
then, right?
for Bill Matlock and Vic Harris was my first trade to the Texas Rangers.
And the crazy thing is, 1974. I wasn't born yet, Fergie. I'm sorry if I'm making you feel younger, but I was born 75. So in 1974, you actually got recorded 25 wins.
I had 25 wins. I had something like 40 starts, 29 complete games, well, over 300 innings pitched. And I won the Comeback Player of the Year award. Catfish Hunter won the Cy Young that year
Mm.
with Oakland.
With
Pretty good pitcher.
with the Texas Rangers, with that 25 wins, um, did you guys end up? What place did you guys end up that year?
We ended up second to Oakland.
Mm.
The year before, they were in last place. Jim Bibby won nine. My roommate won 19 games. Jackie Brown won 15. I think Steve Hargan won 12 to 15 games. And we were second to Oakland. If we'd had a little better bullpen, I think because we beat Oakland something like 9 or 10 times that year. Well, we had a pretty strong team against Oakland. Reggie Jackson and
Vita Blue.
Campaneris, and Vita Blue. They had a good ball club, and they won in 72, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
And we kind of punished them in 74. We let them know that we were a team to be beaten, Texas Rangers.
Then in 75, you went to the Red Sox?
Yeah, 76.
76.
76 went to Boston, played with them 2 seasons. Uh, we had a real good team in 77. I think the year we should have basically won the pennant, and then got traded back to Texas in 78. And I was 18 and 8 that year, and got player of the year with the Rangers. But I was very fortunate enough. As I said, I never had a sore arm out of 20 some seasons in Major League Baseball, and never had a sore arm.
Yeah, hold on, Fergie. Did you ever lift weights back then?
No, never lifted weights. Did a lot of running, did a lot of calisthenics, things that you do to keep yourself in shape. But I tried to stay in shape in the off season. Played with the Globetrotters for 3 seasons too.
Yeah, I remember that. Now, what
Yeah.
was that like? I mean, you got some skills, man. If you play with those guys are they're no joke.
Yet the fun part of it was I was the pitcher each night that gave up the home run to Meadowlark Lemon in the baseball skit in the third quarter. I
Mhm.
played 15 minutes in the third quarter every night. That kept me in great shape running up and down the court playing basketball.
Now,
So when I look back at those 3 seasons, kept me in real good shape.
What years was those years? What year was it?
67, 8, and 9.
Okay,
I
so
started playing with him in October, and played right through to the middle of January. Then I went home and started getting ready for spring training with
but
every
hold
ball club
on a
I was
minute.
in.
Fergie, if I'm the owner of the Cubs, I am not allowing you to play basketball. There's no way I'm losing you.
Well, Mr. Wrigley didn't mind because I think I told John Holland, general manager, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be the pitcher in that particular skit. But I end up playing 15 minutes each night. And it kept, as I said, kept me in great shape.
But here's the thing, Fergie. I don't understand. How come ball players today, they lift weights, they do everything, they still get hurt? You never lifted weights ever. And you had a 19-year
You
year
know,
career.
I, I think because of the fact they don't throw enough, and maybe try to throw breaking pitches too hard or too much in a particular game. And most pitchers have what they call Tommy John surgery, which is an elbow surgery that is very common now in pitching. If you have a shoulder injury, that pretty much takes you out of your season because of the fact that's kind of the worst injury you can have. But Tommy John is something that they look forward to having it. Supposedly, it makes them a better athlete, a better pitcher.
Yeah, it adds 5 miles per hour on your pitches.
Supposedly, it does.
Yeah. So you're saying, but how did you maintain it? Besides the Harlem Globetrotters, other seasons, what did you do? Like, let's say you started, you pitched 10 innings, you won 1-0, whatever, and then the next day, would you run, jog? Would you work on your mechanics? I mean, how did you maintain it?
Well, we'd do a lot of running, and the third day, I might throw 8 minutes of batting practice just to loosen my shoulder, loosen my arm up, and then pitch on the fourth day. That was kind of just a routine that the Cubs had. Joe Becker was our pitching coach. He had all the guys doing it, and we thought it was great for that particular part of our body to stay in shape and being able to pitch. Now, I wasn't a pitcher that uh, from time to time I throw pretty hard, but you get 35 to 40 starts, you might have 20 of those starts where you're on top of your game, so you're going to have pretty good command of all your pitches.
But as you
And
got
some of the other games you finesse a little bit.
but as you got older, you didn't try to overpower pitches. You just try to get them off balance, let them hit it, right?
Well, it depended on a certain ball club. Maybe against Baltimore, or maybe against the Angels, you might know a lot of these different hitters, so you could get them out maybe a little easier than other guys in the lineup. But threw the ball in the low 90s on a consistent basis.
Low 90s.
Yeah,
The highest you ever clocked, 94?
probably that's probably the highest. But when I tell people in that era, Nolan Ryan probably threw the hardest over his whole career. When you look at what he was capable of doing, won 300 games, well over 5,000 strikeouts. He was he's one heck of a competitor. I think I pitched against him only a few times.
Who was the headhunter when you pitched? Like when you played against guys, was Bob Gibson like, hey, he'll give you a warning, get to
Bob Gibson will let you know. Juan Marichal. Uh, I'm trying to think. Tom Seaver. If you were a guy that took it upon yourself to throw at their hitters, Tom Seaver would let you know. Uh, so would Jim Bunning. So would Gaylord Perry, Juan Marichal. Certain guy in the American League was Randy Johnson.
oh yeah.
and Randy Johnson, Clemens. Clemens would let you know.
Pedro
There
would
were
let you
certain
know
guys that,
too.
Pedro, oh yeah. Certain guys that if you try to take advantage of their team by throwing at their ball club, they would let you know right away. Well, in the American League, they didn't start the DH until 74, the year I went to the American League. So they had to hit early in the 70s. So there was a lot of teams that would let you know if you're out there pitching against another opponent, you had to come to the plate, they would let you know.
Fergie, has there ever been a situation when one of your teammates got hit and the manager tells you, Fergie, go get that guy? And you're like, but I like him, man. I don't want to peg him. You know what I mean? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, in 19, I think it's 75, Billy Sample had a 25 game hitting streak, and we're playing the Angels in Anaheim. And I'm not sure who the left-handed pitcher was against me, but Dan Ford came up in like the fifth inning as the leadoff hitter. He knew I was going to hit him. It took three pitches to get him, but I got him. He was dancing in the batter's box, being a right-handed hitter. He knew I was going to throw at him. Finally, just stood there, and took it in the hip. I got thrown out of the game, and the manager, Pat Corrales, at the time, he got thrown out of the game because if you threw at a hitter, they threw out the pitcher and the manager.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Now,
was kind of a situation where you thought you took advantage of, but it didn't work out that way.
Fergie, has a rookie ever hit a home run off you and then afterwards you were like, I'm going to peg this guy?
Ooh, probably it could have been maybe George Brett his rookie year, hit a home run off me in in Texas. I can recall that particular situation. I think he was a rookie third baseman at the time with Kansas City. He hit it down the left field line, just missed the foul pole, which ended up being the fair pole.
Mm. So he hit an opposite field?
Hit the opposite field home run in Arlington.
That must have been a tough pitch he hit if a guy could
Yeah, he went the other way on maybe a fastball. I'm not sure what pitch it was, but he took me the other way and hit it to left field.
Fergie, has anybody ever, any of these hitters did when they hit a home run, they just look at it and then they take a jog? I mean, I know back then I know it was kind of different than now.
Willie Montanez did it against me with the Phillies. He stood there and looked at the ball. He hit the ball to right center field, and the next time he came up, I plugged him.
Well, what's the sign? Like when you go back in the dugout, you tell your catcher, "Yo, the next bat, that same batter, I'm gonna peg
Oh
him."
yeah, well, the, the catcher he'd tell me right away we're setting up behind him, and the catcher would set up behind him, and that was my target. Probably hit him in the hip. I never headhunted, but the nice thing about it, I could hit guy in the shoulder or maybe in the hip. I can recall letting guys know up and in. I just never headhunted.
Did you? Were there certain umpires? Like I interviewed Joe West, former MLB umpire, right?
Cowboy Joe West.
Cowboy Joe, right?
His nickname, his nickname was Ray Charles.
Because I remember when Andre Dawson he got ejected, and then he got fined, and he wrote out a check to the blind.
Yes, right. Well, there's certain umpires they get nicknames. You know, uh, I'm trying to think. Doug Harvey, they called him God because he never missed a pitch on a call. Ron Luciano was a terrible umpire behind the plate.
Did you?
Joe West, Cowboy Joe West, Ray Charles.
Did you ever have umpires like like in the '90s, the Braves strike zone? It was like a little 3 to 4 inches outside. Did you ever have umpires like that would give you calls if you were
Well, yeah,
consistent?
every so often, because of good control, I might get the call maybe a couple of times in an inning, uh, maybe a half a dozen times in a game, get that slider call that just missed. They'd ring the hitter up. A guy that was in and out of the batter's box all the time, George Foster. I mean, him and I'm trying to think of that. They call him the human rain delay. He was a Cleveland manager. I mean, he would just take his time
Was it Hargrove?
getting in it. Hargrove, in and out of the box. He had to adjust his wristband, his elbow, the pull his shirt up on his elbow, or adjust his hat, helmet, whatever. I mean, these guys just they thought they were delaying the game to maybe confuse the pitcher. So I would just walk off the mound, go take a couple of steps in, and said, let me know when you're ready. That type situation.
Hmm.
George Foster he just took so much time at the plate. It's incredible.
Who was? I'm sure you get this question asked numerous times. Who was the hitter that you just said this guy destroys me all the time? Who was it?
Well, Roberto Clemente was a tough out. They're in our division, Pittsburgh. So I probably have to start 5, 6 times against that particular ball club. They had a great hitting lineup with Sanguian, Stargell, Mazeroski, Gene Alley, Clemente. So there were some times that certain guys are going to get you, regardless of how good you pitch. Guys are going to get to you.
Now, in 1991, you get the phone call. You're in Baseball Hall of Fame, my man. Where were you at the
Yeah,
time?
I was living at the time in Oklahoma. I had a ranch in Oklahoma, and Jack Lang was the individual that phoned the ball players that were on the dais or on that list. And at the time, he phoned me on a Saturday. He says, Ferguson, if you get the 75 votes that's required to get in the Hall of Fame, I'll be phoning you Sunday to let you know that there's going to be a press conference in New York on Monday. So Sunday afternoon, I'm in the house waiting for that call. 5 o'clock comes, didn't phone didn't ring. 5 after, 10 after, boom, the phone rings. It's Jack Lang. The only thing he said, congratulations, Ferguson. You're in the Hall of Fame. I'll get back to you in about 45 minutes with flight arrangements for Monday. That was it. And I phoned my dad, I hung up, phoned my dad, and let my dad know I just got elected in the Hall of Fame.
Your dad must have been so emotional because, he probably is thinking about the thoughts taking you to all the games, being there for you, being the great father. And then you got to the big leagues and you had a career. And it's like all those thoughts. I'm sure there was tears of joy when he found out.
Yeah, my dad at the other end of the phone, I could tell he was kind of crying, and he was there in Cooperstown with me
Hmm.
when I got elected in the Hall of Fame. I look back, my dad was kind of the instrumental guys with so many different coaches in my hometown. Uh, I had Ross Day, Casey Maynard, Joe Zimmer. Uh, I'm trying to think, Doug Allen, and then Gene DeJure was the area scout that converted me from being a first baseman to a pitcher. So there were a lot of instrumental individuals that helped me along the way, believe me.
Let me ask you this. What do you think of this, right? What if you were the first baseman? You think you would have a 19-year career?
Well, I look back, 19 years was about what all the guys were trying to do. Marichal, Gaylord Perry, Nolan Ryan pitched 27 seasons. Steve Carlton, 21. Phil Necro, 22. Jim Cott, 22, 23. So I was right in that same proportion of years playing in the big leagues, having those seasons under my belt, knowing that if I was going to put numbers up, I had to be a winning pitcher. I was very fortunate in those 19 seasons. I won 284 ball games.
Wow, 284. It doesn't exist anymore, man. I'm telling you, it does not exist. You look at the game now, all right, 5 strong innings, you make 15 million a year. Just give me 5 million. I mean, come on now, Ferg. Imagine that was you. Imagine if you were playing now. What?
Well,
350,
the game is
$350 million contract, Fergie. 10 years with the Yankees, baby. You're in.
Yeah, that would be something to be able to spend that money. I look back, I'm not envious. These guys, they earned it. They have agents that negotiate the contracts. And the nice thing about it is that a lot of these young men could throw deeper in the game, but that's not what the game's all about now. It's all about the bullpen. There's like 8 to 10 guys sitting out in the bullpen. They have the guys that are what they call guys that can hold the game,
Yeah.
guys that are setup guys, the guys that are the closers. So, I mean, the game has totally changed now from the important part of the starting staff. It's all now about the bullpen.
And think about it, Ferg. I mean, uh, a closer is only pitching one inning, maybe two innings, a game, and he's making 15 to 20 million a year. Just a one
Yeah,
inning guy.
Mariano Rivera with the Yankees, I think what he had 600 saves.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean, pitched one inning to save a ball game, and he proved that he could do it. You know what's nice about the game now is there's so many good pitchers in the game of baseball. Uh, the staffs now, when I broke in, there was only 9 pitchers on the staff. Now there's 13 or 14 individuals that go out there and are capable of doing a job, and they get paid for it, and they get paid pretty well too.
but when you were pitching, Fergie, is it like, the manager comes out, let's say the eighth inning. Did you have pride like, don't take me out? I could get this guy out, right? You guys didn't want to come out. You wanted to stay in, right? That's how it was back
Oh,
then, right?
yeah, definitely. I had the toughest manager was probably for me was Leo DeRocher,
Yeah.
and if he walked out to the mound, he put his hand out. He wants the ball. Billy Martin was the same way. I don't think of my whole career I ever changed the manager's decision because the fact that when they want to make a change, they're making it. So I don't care what you could plead, get down on one knee, don't take me out. That didn't happen.
Right. No, but your manager, what's his name again for the Cubs?
Leo DeRocher, Leo the
DeRocher,
left.
right? But there was one
Yeah,
incident. He comes out, and you're like, I got this, all right? Okay, that's all I want to hear. Then he goes back in the dugout. I mean, there were
yeah. I
times
think
like
that
that,
happened
right?
maybe once,
Oh, okay.
once, once in my whole career. I think that was against Houston,
Okay.
playing in the Astrodome. I think I had the seventh and eighth hitters coming up. I said, hey, Skip, I got this.
He's like, well, that's all I want to
That
hear.
didn't,
You're good.
yeah, that didn't happen too often, believe me.
Okay. Out of all the managers that you played for, who was the manager you were like, I like this manager. This is the guy. I wish this
Well,
manager was here during earlier my career. I probably could have had 300 wins.
I had Gene Mock first
Mm.
with the Phillies, and I had Leo with the Cubs, Billy Martin with the Rangers. I had Billy Hunter, I had Pat Corrales, Frank Lucchese. You know, when I look back, there were guys that they had enough confidence to leave me out there. Billy Martin, the one year, my first year with the Texas Rangers, I had 40 starts, 29 complete ball games. He'd walk by me on the bench in the seventh or sixth or seventh inning, and he'd say, "Hey Jenkins, we're our big fellow, we're giving the bullpen a rest today," like that. And that was all he had to say. He knew I was going to go out there and try to complete a ball game, but he would always let me know. He'd walk past me in the dugout. We're giving the bullpen a rest today. That was it.
So let me ask you this. Here's another thing that's very beautiful about you. There was a guy on the Boston Red Sox named Bernie something. I don't know his last name.
Bernie Carbo.
Yeah. The guy literally was struggling with drugs, and literally he thanked you because you saved his life. He gave you credit. Tell me about that story.
Well, at the time, I think in Bernie's situation, his mom had committed suicide, and his dad was on the brink of uh, probably the same thing. And Bernie, being at he was on a ball club when I was there in the 70s. He had really had some tough times, and he had gotten a hold of Bill Lee when we were teammates together. Bill Lee phoned me and said that Bernie is considering committing suicide. So I had Bernie's number at the time, phone number. So I phoned him uh, uh, just picture this. He's sitting in his living room. In one hand, he's got a gun. The other hand, he's got a bottle of rye whiskey. He's been drinking. He's intoxicated. He wanted to commit suicide. And I told him, I said, Bernie, you're going to hurt so many other people when you're gone. Not the right thing. He had two or three daughters. He'd just gotten remarried. And I said, just think of all the people you're hurting besides yourself. And he decided not to do it. Bill Lee got a hold of I think his name is Sam McDowell, who was I think the counselor for a lot of guys that were having a problem. And I think McDowell got a hold of Bernie and tried to straighten Bernie out. And I'm not sure if I was the one that got Bernie to not take his life, but I've talked to Bernie on it quite a few times after that. And Bernie said I was the individual that stopped him from committing suicide.
What an unbelievable story. You know, Fergie, you saved a guy, not only his life, but his family too, you know? Because there's nothing
I think
worse.
that,
There's nothing
oh,
worse
yeah.
than hurting somebody. Like, saying that, well, how, can you imagine the conversation? Imagine if a woman, his wife, is like, how did your husband pass away? Suicide. I mean, that's crazy just to say that, you know?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, Bernie at one time, maybe he wasn't a strong individual, faith wise, and understanding you're taking your life and hurting a dozen other people. He might not know it at the time, but he didn't think it all out. And I just tried to reiterate I'd lost two wives from situations, car accident, and then a suicide.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you just have to reflect on your faith. And I think Bernie's faith was not real strong at the time, and I think it took probably Sam McDowell to talk him out of situations. I was just maybe an instrument that got to him earlier. Bill Lee too was a teammate, just to let him know that who are you going to hurt after you're gone? Who are you hurting? And I think that's what hit home to Bernie. And he did. I mean, he's a born again Christian right now,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that's a big plus for him.
What a savior, man! You are God, Fergie. I'm serious. You are God, man. I feel like you know what I feel
Well,
like. Look,
I,
here's
I
the
had
thing.
I had the opportunity to to play with some great teammates, and Bernie was one of them. And at the time, I just think he had a weak moment, and really unfortunate that Bill Lee helped him along with Sam McDowell straightening out his life, and I think it's really helped him.
But Fergie, I feel like you're the type of guy that when you speak to, I feel like some ball players would just come up to you and say, "Hey, Fergie, man, can you give me some advice? This is what I'm going through with my family." You were that guy, right? You would help. Your words are so powerful that they'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that." Right?
Well, like I said, I'm strong, faithfully wise. I think being a Baptist. Uh, Had the opportunity to share witness, was baptized real young,
Hmm.
like 11, 12 years old. But I think what people want to hear is your strength telling them that they should be strong. And I think that's helped a lot of times in that situation because the fact that I've had my own trials and have had a chance to meet them. And now it's your time to meet that trial. And just don't let a weak part of your faith be your demise.
But the situation with Marianne's daughter, that's suicide. Were there any indications, any signs that you noticed from that lady that
No, I didn't notice anything.
no
It's really
depression, nothing?
unfortunate. The depression part of when that situation happened, I didn't know about it until a week after. and it's already happened. Where
Mm.
well, with that situation, you always think that you're strong enough to handle it, and I was, but the fact that if I'd have known earlier, possibly done something to combat it, but it just didn't happen. And I look back at I just unfortunately just didn't know.
Yeah. Man, when I heard about that, when Jay told me that, I was like, what? I look at that girl's picture, like right there, so
Yeah,
adorable.
that was Samantha.
Yeah.
I think at the time she was only 2.5, 3 years old at the time. Beautiful little girl.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're like you're a dream dad for these girls. I mean, like seriously, I could see you how the way you were taking care of your kids. I see some videos you're taking pictures of them, for memories and stuff like that. You were like the
Yeah,
photographer.
I had a lot of cameras. I took photographs of the kids and a lot of scrapbooks. Right now, my son Raymond, who lives in Warrenville, Illinois, he just had a son's named Atticus. I mean, he used to, when he was young, 11, 12 years old, he really wasn't sure who I was until I had to let him know that I'm your dad, and whatever situation happens, I'm going to be there for you. And he is really a good father now. He's been married a little over 5 years, got one beautiful son. And I mean, he's a strong individual because of the fact that we sit and talk. And we did talk quite a bit when he was younger, after he lost his mom.
Mm, yeah. And you know what's great too? Like he didn't know who you were at first, and he's like, "You're my dad." Okay,
Yeah,
no problem. Very nice kid. I saw a picture of him. I was like, wow. And you finally actually have a little boy in your family now, right? It's all girls
right.
mostly.
Yeah. When I adopted him, I gave him my name, and his son is keeping the Jenkins name going. So, what's nice, Raymond was an individual that really suffered a lot. At the time, he was only 11 years old when his mom passed away. So it was tough on him, an 11-year-old son, and trying to teach him that this is just something that happens in life. A lot of times you just can't combat it. And he had a tough time in school for a while until he really understood that I was there to help him. And I think he's a strong man right now. He's 40 years old. He's doing his thing. He's a school teacher, and he really enjoys what he does.
And you know what's awesome too, man? I mean, what about this moment right here, man? I mean, you got a statue at Wrigley Field. Are you kidding me? And the crazy thing is, when you were growing up, you were idolizing Ernie Banks.
Definitely, yes,
And
for
then
sure.
you have Ernie Banks statue, and you're there too, man. Are you kidding me? I mean, can't get better than that, right?
I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm alongside Ernie, Billy, and Ronnie. All four of us are right there, and we're going to be joined by Ryan Sandberg come next year, or maybe this summer. But it's nice to know that a fellow teammate, uh, Mr. Cub, he he was he was the guy. When we had to play, he just went out and did his job on a daily basis. Well over 19 years himself, only as a Cub. He never played for any other team. Only one team. There's this statue, Ernie Banks, and he could flat hit. Believe me,
Oh
he
my
could
God.
hit.
He had that typical right-handed swing that just the balls jumped, right? Like,
Yeah, had a real quick bat, similar to Hank Aaron. He was all wrist and hands, and the the power that he had hit the ball a long way. He didn't hit the ball 500 yards. He hit the ball like 390, 375, but it was a home run.
and when the hitters will complain it's too cold, you're like, buddy, I'm from Canada. This ain't nothing, right? That's what you tell them.
Oh yeah, there was a couple opening days that I had in New York, Chicago, or Montreal. where it was bitter cold, but you had to go out there and perform. And so I wanted to do the best I could do of being a pitcher, go out there and do my job.
That's unreal. You
So,
idolize the
but it was
guy,
fun.
and then you have this statue. How many statues are there? There's four right now, right?
Right, yeah. Four. Myself, Ernie, Ronnie, and Billy. And come this summer,
Unreal.
24 or maybe 25, Ryan Sandberg.
Wow, that's unreal. Now Santo
You're
was he
right.
the type of player like a Chipper Jones type of player? Because I wasn't born
He,
yet back then.
he
What
was a home
was?
run hitter, a third baseman,
Mhm.
great defense. He was the captain of the team. Uh, put the ball in play, would strike out from time to time. Hit a lot of home runs, a lot of RBIs. I'm not sure of his total. A couple of years he'd hit 35 to 40 home runs. Because he was a home run hitter. Playing in Wrigley Field, it's a home run ballpark, but he hit home runs on the road too.
Well, those day games at Wrigley. I'm sure the fans they were drinking those beers left and right, huh?
Yeah, it was a good summer park, believe me.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of college students were out there, tank tops, shorts, getting tans out in the outfield. And then now the bleachers are they've been I think gotten to the point. There was like maybe 3,000 seats. Now there's close to 4,000 seats out there. They've enlarged the bleachers now.
And
A lot of fans.
the clubhouse is gorgeous now, right?
Oh yeah, 30,000 square feet. Where it's incredible. It's all underneath the stands now. They build it. I mean, it's a beautiful clubhouse. Uh, wait. They have a weight room, training room, office, coach's room, uh, an immaculate clubhouse. I walk down there. I'm so envious of some of these young guys. It's such a great clubhouse to go to. They have a cafeteria where they get their meals cooked for them. It's incredible now.
Did you ever see the Yankee Stadium clubhouse, the new one in Yankee Stadium?
No, I've never been in. No, never been
Oh,
there.
you got to see that
Pretty nice
clubhouse, the
too.
weight room too. Oh my God, you got to.
Yeah.
Actually, they're renovating right now in the clubhouse right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, players that play now in the game, there's so many things given to them to make them a better athlete. And I think the ball clubs understand that. If you can give something to a ball player to increase his potential, I think the ball clubs are all doing that. From Cincinnati at a new stadium, Pittsburgh. Now you've got that brand new stadium in Texas, Globe Life Field, $1 billion stadium, and their clubhouses. I've been in there; it's huge. They've got a barber shop in their clubhouse.
are you serious? Wait, they
guys
got a
come,
full time
guys
barber
come to the.
working there?
Oh yeah, they come there and there's a barber cutting their hair on a daily basis.
Is it open to the fans?
No, just to the
Okay. Oh,
players.
all right. and
Incredible,
and I'm sure to the organization too, right? Like the corporate people. Yeah, come
right?
on
Oh
down. We'll
yeah,
give you a
you go down
haircut.
there, come down, get a haircut. They also have a cafeteria, the weight room, meeting room. They have a room, and I'm not sure the the correct name for it, but they've got three or four of these pods. You can get in a pod with water, and you just lay in it, and it tranquilizes you. And I'm not sure what they call it, but it takes the stress away from players.
Ferg, if you had that, you would probably pitch 600 innings one year.
Maybe.
You probably pitch a doubleheader. Yeah, I got the second game. Don't worry
Yes,
about
but
it.
well, when I first seen it, I didn't know really what it was, but until they explained it to me, it's like there's two or three pods in this room, and it's full of water, and you can lay in it, and it kind of vibrates you to take away your stress.
Unreal. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Ferg,
incredible.
is it what was my next question? Oh, that all-star game when you struck out six guys. I mean, you had Mickey Mantle, right? Roberto Clemente, right? I mean, that was off the hook. Rod Carew. I mean, you had three Hall of Famers, man, out of the six,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, I struck out. Well, Tony Oliva now is in the Hall of Fame too now.
Oh, right,
But
right.
the nice thing about it, at the age of 22, you've got a lot of adrenaline going, and that was my first All Star game. So I was out there to try to do my best. And Mickey Mantle was the first hitter, struck him out on 4 pitches.
Wow. Did
I
you?
look back, I considered myself pretty lucky. I'd faced him one other time or two other times in spring training with the Phillies in spring training, Clearwater, and he hit the ball. But he took a call third strike, and I went, "Thank you."
Oh my God. You know what's
Yeah,
crazy? You growing up, you heard the Yankees, Mickey Mantle, and now you're facing the guy, man. Is that crazy?
right. Yeah, a lot of history there. I mean, guys that played in my era, you knew exactly who they were and what their capabilities were and what they're capable of doing. So when I look back, I was one of the lucky ones. And when a hitter stops and doesn't swing at a ball, and you get a call strike three, I consider myself pretty lucky. He didn't pick the ball up, or he just wasn't ready to hit.
Did he ever talk to you ever? Did you ever have a conversation
Oh
with him?
yeah, I've been to different occasions and talked to a lot of the hitters in that particular All Star game. Supposedly there was 16 or 17 Hall of Famers in that particular game, from Frank Robinson, Clemente, Bench, Yastrzemski, so many guys that played, plus the managers, uh, Weaver,
Wow.
uh, I think Dick Williams, uh, Leo DeRocher. There were so many other managers, Walter Austin, that that was a Hall of Fame game that proved that was one of the best All Star games, especially in Anaheim, 1967. Proved that there was so many great people in that particular game that people really didn't really realize it. That so many Hall of Famers participated in that particular game.
So you said 17 Hall of Famers from that All Star game?
Yep,
Oh
and
my
we had
God.
another one in 19. I'm pretty sure it might have been in the 70s in Detroit when Reggie hit the home run off. I think he hit it off Doc Ellis. There were a lot of Hall of Famers in that particular game too, managers and players. So when you look back at the All Star game, Harmon Killebrew was in that game. K Line.
Oh my
So
God.
there was a lot of Hall of Famers.
I wondered the stats. How many of those guys hit 500 home runs or more? How many guys were part of that?
Ooh, well, Mays, Frank Robinson, Killebrew. Uh, I don't think Yastrzemski hit 500, but there were a lot of home run hitters, and I think Ernie Banks was in that one in Anaheim,
Yeah.
home run hitter, 500 home run. Eddie Matthews,
Yeah. Yeah.
a bunch of guys.
Oh my God.
McCovey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were some guys that were able to hit that ball out of the ballpark and put in a number of numbers up that were Hall of Famers.
Fergie,
So
were you involved in the 10 cent night, 10 cent beer night at Cleveland? Were you involved with
yeah,
that?
I was in that. Yeah, I started that game. I was the pitcher.
Okay, so what
I pitched
happened
six
that
innings.
game?
I pitched 6 innings. Well, the game before, we played in Arlington. We got into a fight with the Cleveland Indians at the time, and I'm trying to think of the pitcher. Milt Wilcox hit Lenny Randall the inning before, or a couple innings before. So when Lenny came up the next time up, he bunted down the first baseline. Instead of running to first, he ran right over Milt Wilcox, and the fight started. And it was like for like 20 minutes we were fighting. So they expected when we went to Cleveland on that road trip, we are going to get into a fight, but it didn't turn out that way. They had a 10-cent beer night. They had a bunch of streakers. They had a couple of father and son ran across the outfield, mooned everybody. A young lady ran out to home plate, took her tube top down, and all a bunch of crazy things happened. I got spiked in that game. Lenny Randall walked on my foot. I backed up third base, and Lenny went to catch the ball and walked back on me. So I was on a gurney sitting in a hospital emergency room when the doors broke open, and the guy saying, "Oh, there's a riot in Cleveland Stadium." So I didn't participate in the riot. I had to wait to get the blow-by-blow description. When I got back to the hotel, Jim Bibby told me of all the guys are running out there in the outfield to right field trying to protect Jeff Burrows because some guy tried to steal his hat.
Oh
Kind
God, his
of a
hat.
weird
Here, take
situation.
it. So many hats,
But
right?
I was the pitcher in that game, and when they took me out of the ball game, I'm winning 5-2, but they waited till the eighth inning to Cleveland to tie it up, and they gave the team the win, of which they forfeited the win to the team in the eighth inning when the game was tied 5-5.
Oh.
Really weird.
Why number 31, Fergie? Was that just available, the number that's available, or?
Well, at the time when I got traded from the Phillies to the Cubs, I had number 30, and Kenny Holtzman had 30.
Mhm.
So I decided that, my birthday's on the 13th. So when you flip the numbers around, it's 31. So I took the uniform number 31 and I wore it for almost 19 years in the big leagues.
Wow.
So
And when you went to
it
different
was a good
teams,
number too, number
yeah.
31.
Oh, you know who I think of all the time? 31 is Dave Winfield, but now I'm going to add you to the
Yeah,
list.
Winfield had it. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had it in San Diego. And I think he wore it in New York
in New
too,
York. Yeah, but
31.
you see how, like, when you try to remember numbers, how I remember numbers is by the uniform number of the ball player. So let's say, oh
Yep,
yeah, it's
you're right.
31-26. I'll be thinking Winfield Wade Boggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. In my situation, Jenkins, Billy Williams.
Right,
Billy Williams
exactly.
wore 26.
Yeah.
Ernie Banks 14. You know what's really funny? When Reggie Jackson was Oakland, he wore number 9, and when he went to the Yankees, Nettles had it.
Hmm.
Nettles wore number 9, so he took 44. Nobody had 44 with the Yankees.
Well, that's a memorable
He
number
ended up
right there.
playing the rest of his career number 44 with the Yankees.
Wow. So, Fergie, what are you doing now? I know you're a little older. I know you probably have appearances. Talk to me. What are you doing right now?
I do personal appearances
Hmm.
for the Texas Rangers and also the Chicago Cubs. I go to spring training with the Cubs. I kind of tutor some of their minor league players. I'm there for 2.5, 3 weeks. And in Mesa, Arizona, I just trying to live out my life with my wife. I like to hunt and fish. I play golf as much as I can and just try to enjoy life.
So, this is a great
Yeah,
picture
here
right
I am
here.
at fishing. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
Lake Louisville. I'm out there fishing.
You know what's crazy is that you play in the big leagues, especially the Cubs. Lots of people, and then you just go live in Oklahoma and you just relax, right? Sometime when you back in the
Yeah.
days, right?
Well, I had two ranches. I had one in Ontario and one in Oklahoma, raising quarter horses, Appaloosa, real pretty horses. I did that for almost 30 years. Raised 4 kids on the ranch. A lot of fun. My kids, they learned how to do chores and understand what picking up the bus in the morning meant, going to school, and enjoying life. I think the kids understood that what their dad did as a player, as a ball player, and what they're trying to do as kids is their own life too now. But they enjoyed living at the farm. I mean, it was quiet
Yeah.
and enjoyable.
I want to know who's more popular in Canada, you or Wayne Gretzky?
Well, two different sports.
But still,
Wayne.
popularity wise, this is a close one. What do you
I
think?
Pretty close. I think Wayne is because of the fact that the all-time scorer in NHL hockey, and I'm the all-time winner Canadian and winning baseball games. But I see Wayne from time to time at banquets.
Hmm.
I haven't seen him probably in the last 10 years. When he was coaching the team in Oklahoma, he was the coach there, and I had a chance to go down to the stadium and meet him, and I think he knew who I was. But I mean, being a Canadian and doing something that you always wanted to do as a kid, be a professional athlete, and I enjoyed that part of it.
I'll tell you, man, the 19 years you had, I mean, it can't get better than that. I mean, what you did, what you accomplished, but the only thing that's missing, you and Ernie, is that rock, right?
World
That
Series,
rock.
yeah,
Ah,
it would have been nice to win a World Series game or just to pitch in the World Series, especially in Chicago. But I was part of the organization when the team 2016 won. All those young men,
mhm.
they did a great job beating Cleveland in the World Series, and got a chance to throw out the opening pitch with Greg Maddux for the fifth game, the World Series in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I mean, being still part of the ball club, I enjoy that. Believe me.
And when you wanted to call it quits, Cleveland called you after the 84 season, right? And they said, hey,
Yeah,
Fergie,
Cleveland phoned a couple of times.
one more year. Come
Yeah,
on, give it to us. You're like, I'm done, man. Leave me alone, right?
no, I'm done. I told him the fire's out,
The fire is out.
and
That's it.
the fire's out. No more competitive fires. I'm home now, relaxing with the family, and happy with the fact that what I did as a ball player, I did it on my own basis, and now I'm home, relaxing.
What a life. What a life.
Yeah,
Fergie Jenkins in the house. Wow. When you being a Hall of Famer, can you go to any stadium and it's on the house? Like, can you just walk into a stadium, you show them your badge, and you're in?
yeah. I've got a gold card. I've got a
Gold
gold
card.
card I've used a few times in different sporting events. Just show the people at the box office who I am. I'd like to get in and watch the game, and a lot of times they'll give me a seat. If not, well, you can go to the press box and talk to so and so. But that gold card has opened up a lot of doors
Oh
over
yeah.
the last few years.
Good business too, right there, right? Appearances,
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Fergie, next time you come to New York, can you call me and we go to Yankee Stadium, gangster
I can
seats.
do that.
Don't worry about it. I got the
All right.
gangster seats, all right? And just to have a thrill of hanging out with you and saying to myself, I'm with a Hall of Famer, man.
Yeah, I can do that, Eddie, in a heartbeat. Be glad to do it.
I mean, like, I'll be smoking your cigars. Maybe outside the stadium, we'll smoke some cigars, Fergie
Right.
Jenkins,
Okay.
right? And then we go inside and we just shoot the
Relax.
shh. I mean, I know
Yeah, that's
the
it.
wow, what a listen,
Yeah.
Fergie, it's been great. Seriously, I really enjoyed talking to you. Uh, I grew up without a father, because my father left us when I was 4 years old, my brother and I say to myself, you are a classic example of a great family man and a great dad, man.
Yeah. I was very fortunate. I tell people all the time, I had two parents that guided me on the straight and narrow, and I was an only child. So I tell people I was probably spoiled too. Especially my dad got me all the right equipment to play certain sports, basketballs, hockey equipment, baseball, gloves, and things like that situation. And my dad would always talk to me about as an athlete, win or lose, be a good sportsman because you're not going to win every game. You're going to lose sometimes, and it's going to be heartbreaking. Hey, if you got to cry a little bit because all athletes cry from time to time.
Well, that's what Jimmy Valvano's speech. Remember, cry. It's okay.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Wow. All
Yeah,
right. Well, listen, don't go anywhere. Let me end this. I just need a couple of favors and then we're good to go.
sure.
So we're going to be off air. Fergie Jenkins, the legend, Mr. Canada, Mr. Cub, Mr. Everything. I mean, he's done it all, man. Wait, one more
All
question.
right.
Fergie, have you ever been ejected in a game?
Once
Oh, once.
I
Okay.
threw some bats. I threw some bats on the field in Wrigley, and I got ejected. Unfortunately, the wrong thing to do with this particular umpire. and I got ejected.
All right, listen, one time out of 19 years, I think that's a great stat.
Yeah, that is a great stat.
So
Yeah,
now I know where Andre Dawson had his idea of throwing all the bats at Joe West.
yeah,
It was probably
yeah,
from you.
yeah. I'm not sure who the umpire was for me, but if he threw bats on the field, I got fined for it. I'm not sure if he got fined or not, but
No, he
I
got
was going to
fined.
throw the whole bat rack, but I only threw six.
I think Dawson threw six or more.
Did he throw six too?
Yeah, I got to look into that.
All right,
All right, so don't go
sounds
anywhere.
good.
Hold on a minute.
All right, Eddie.
Hold on.
Hello, it's Fergie Jenkins, Hall of Famer with the Chicago Cubs. If you got an opportunity to listen to Eddie Mata, I'd go ahead and do it because he's a righteous guy.